So, welcome back. Oops, Alright, welcome back. It is Pacher from Pacher and the Posse, and today I am going to talk about our read-alouds. So my battery is dying, but I wanted to do a recording, and this is one of the times that I'm able to do it, so I might speak a little fast. I'm going to try to make this a little quick so we can get through our books. I'm first going to talk about our 2019 to 2020 read-aloud books, and then I will share our books for the year 2020 to 2021. And I'm not going to talk about what the books are about specifically, but I will share a bit of my opinion, and I think I will give like my top 3 if you were to choose some to start and you're not sure where to start. I will give you my top picks for the selection for both years. So these are our read-alouds from the previous year, 2019 to 2020, and for reference, my kids are ages 8, 6, and 5. So when we started, they were 8, 6, and 4. And we started with Charlotte's Web just because. We started with Charlotte's Web, and that was a fun book. It was easy and interesting and fun for them to grasp onto because there are animals in there, the animals speak, and it's, I think it has a bit of, it has elements of a little bit of everything. So it's a little sad, it's a little happy, it's funny, and adventurous, all of that. So I think that's a good book. I mean, all these books that I'm going to show you are classics, pretty much. And then we went into James and the Giant Peach. So, sorry, I'll come a little closer. So we went into James and the Giant Peach, and I had never read or heard of this book before, but I am a fan of Roald Dahl, and this did not disappoint. It was very good. I think that it was a good move also from one to the other. Yeah, and a lot of the movies I picked, at least just to start, it kind of started off as coincidence, but once I realized that the coincidence was actually kind of nice, we just went with it. And what I'm talking about is that the books that we started off with had movies to go with them. So we'd read the book first, and then we would watch the movie and kind of compare what was different and what was the same, how certain things were conveyed or why things were taken out or changed, and how that may have affected the story. Yeah, and so from James and the Giant Peach, we went to the BFG. So we read the BFG before, but then I stopped part of the way because it was kind of hard for me to read, honestly, because BFG, The Big Friendly Giant, also by Roald Dahl, he's a giant that was pretty much illiterate, and so he taught himself how to write and read and speak, I guess. So some of his words are very jumbled, and just personally, when I read, I try to be as precise as possible. So I stumbled a little bit trying to get his words right, but if that's not a big deal, it's completely fine. Once we got past, you kind of start with the history of giant country and giants. Once we got past that and the plot really started to evolve, I thought the book was very intriguing, and it was fun. And the movie was really good. The movie was, I think, one of those movies that it's just underappreciated and not very well known, which is surprising. So if you do read BFG, I really recommend you watching the movie. And if you don't read BFG, I also recommend you watching the movie. So yeah. And then we went into Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we kind of went on a pattern here, or not a pattern. whatever the word I'm looking for, we read again Roald Dahl books. So James and the Giant Peach, the BFG, which I don't have, that's why I don't have here to show you, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are all Roald Dahl books. And if you read or know of Roald Dahl books, he kind of has this very imaginative story with sometimes kind of over-the-top characters, and it's fun. I think I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until we ventured into other books that are maybe a bit more realistic, with realistic plots and realistic characters. And I realized how much I enjoyed that and missed that fantastical kind of world, and I don't know. So yeah. Anyways, so then after that, I thought we would, change pace a little bit. So I don't remember exactly the order, but I think we may have went into Frindle. So Frindle is, like I just mentioned, a more realistic story with real characters and things that could possibly happen. So all the books that I chose are just books that I have listened or heard from other homeschool parents, and Googled, and just came upon that I thought might be worth reading, or if they were like a classic, I thought that it would be good for my children and I to know that literary work. So Frindle was one that I stumbled upon, and again, I didn't really know much about it, but I think the ending of it kind of made the story come full circle, which I guess makes sense for most or all stories, but for me, I think that kind of solidified, like, oh, okay, I get it, I get where this is going. And then we did Mercy Watson, and Mercy Watson is also one of those stories that I have heard about a lot, but I did not know anything of. And so when I went to the thrift store, I found this. I'm sorry, I'm speaking fast. I'm trying to make it before my camera dies. So Mercy Watson I found at the thrift store, and it was in really good condition, and so I picked it up. And then I realized that there's many other Mercy Watson books. So we just read this one, and I thought it was quite funny. And it's easier compared to the other ones that we have read, I think, which is appropriate for my youngest one, with his attention span, and so because it's shorter, we did do an activity with this one. Some of these other books we did an activity for too. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we did like a make your own candy kind of activity. This we did like a little booklet about characters and vocabulary words. And then we read Because of Winn-Dixie. So again, another story with more real characters, with more real storylines and dialogue and whatnot. And again, another one that was well talked about. So I picked it up, and it was a good book. It was slower than other books, but I think that there's a very kind of beautiful underlying message in this story that, again, by the end of the story, it came full circle, and it just kind of left you like with a nice breath of air. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I wish I could dwell on this a little longer and like take my time, but I'm trying to get this done. And then I was missing Roald Dahl, and I wanted to go back to Matilda, because this is one of the books that I really wanted to do with the kids. It was a book that I cherished and loved when I was a child, and I actually read Matilda before I knew that there was a movie, and before I knew that other people knew about Matilda because of the movie. So I didn't remember much about what happened in the book, but I remember a specific scene And I just remember being very intrigued and amazed by Matilda. And so we read it, and I will say, very, very good. I understood why I loved it so much as a little girl. Yeah, and then we did Winnie the Pooh. So this was our last book of the year. This was our 9th book. Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, I think is how you pronounce it. And I just have to say, when I was younger, I think I have watched Winnie the Pooh shows, and I thought they were kind of weird, maybe a little boring, but oh my goodness, my children and I, we all love this book. It's a compilation of short stories inside, and as you get to adventure and journey these silly stories with these silly characters, and it's just so much fun. I think that I truly believe that anyone, adult, child, whatever, would really enjoy this book. So that wraps up our 2019 to 2020 Read Aloud stories. And I will share my top. It's kind of hard, but I think I'm going to have to say, I'm going to pick 3. Okay, James and the Giant Peach, Matilda, and Winnie the Pooh. And I do recommend BFG also. If you can watch the movie, or if you decide to just watch the movie, that would be really good. Charlotte's Web is also another good classic, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Again, these are all classics, so you can't really go wrong with it. This made me cry. I mean, I know the story, but it made me cry. Okay, so moving on. So the spring and summer has already started, and I was kind of not sure whether I wanted to jump into our new books yet, but we do school year round. So eventually I was like, why not? These are our selection of books, and there are 2 more that I want to dive into, but I do not have yet. So we read a total of about 9 books last year, and honestly, we didn't start until the end of the year, like November of 2019. And so these are mostly read by winter and spring, and I'm actually quite surprised by how much we got through, considering that even though I was an English major, I'm not a very big reader. I'm more of a writer. Yes, they go hand in hand, I understand, but I just kind of extra like that. So anyways, jumping into our 2020 to 2021 books. Stuart Little, we are starting this currently, and we are almost halfway, and I don't have enough to give an opinion on it. These, I will just tell you the books, so you know what we're getting ourselves into, and maybe be inspired by a title to check out for your own family. We have A Wrinkle in Time. Again, same basis of classics and what I have come across from websites or other parents. The Trumpet of the Swan. We have Mr. Popper's Penguins. And some of these I do believe have movies. The House at Pooh Corner. This was the book that we were going to read first, but I didn't have it. I had Winnie the Pooh, so we did this first, and still very good. And then we have Wonder. Now this is more or praise for wonder, or is it just wonder? Just wonder. This is more of a modern story, I believe. When did it come out? 2012. So, I guess more modern than the other ones, but... Okay, hold on, buddy, okay? And then other books I have at hand that I wanted to get into, but I think I might hold off, is Anne of Green Gables. Hold off until maybe my children are a little older, or when I can get around to it and see if they have the maturity level or the comprehensive capacity for it. And Little House on the Prairie. Little House in the Prairie, we might actually get to this one this year. But the other two books that I want to get to first, if possible, is I should have looked this up. So I know the title. One of them is let me see. I'll find it. The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. So that's one. And the other one is, just want to make sure I have it right, The Phantom Tollbooth. So those are two other chapter books that I want to get into. Probably The Phantom Tollbooth will be one that will come later in the year, because I think from what I read, it is one of those books that may be a little bit higher level. So again, my kids are ages 8, 6, and 5. Going to be 9, 7, and 5. I give you the ages of my kids because I want you to understand what books we're using and how it has worked for these children in this age group. I think that you should try what works. We have read other chapter books before, like The Boxcar Children and the other one, The Magic Tree House. Those are a series. And so it took some time to just kind of play around and see what they could grasp, see what they enjoyed, before we really jumped into like these chapter books. So yeah, and I just want to share